Hello MegaTripper, thank you for joining me once again on another little mini trip on MegaTrip. This time we're going to have a little look at Bermondsey. Bermondsey is in southeast London, so another London-based mini trip. Bermondsey is actually my hometown, if you like. It's where I live most of the time when I'm not gallivanting around the globe. The thing about London is it's really lots of little towns that eventually kind of merge together to form the mammoth metropolis that it is today. And this is one of those. So Bermondsey is in southeast London. It's bordered on the north by the famous Thames River. On the south, it's bordered by the famous Old Kent Road. And on the west by Borough High Street, where you'll find Borough Market. But on the east side, it's bordered by Southwark Park. And that's where we're going to start this little mini trip on MegaTrip today, in the beautiful Southwark Park. So MegaTripper, you might have noticed if you're watching this when it's released or near when it's released that I appear to be wearing cold weather clothing, a woolly hat, a jacket. So maybe you're thinking that I pre-recorded this earlier in the year, but no, I did not. It is in fact May. It's springtime here, but this is London. So if you do visit, be wary, the weather's completely changeable. Sometimes it's warm, sometimes it's cold, particularly in those kind of shoulder seasons of spring and autumn. But it's still worth coming down for a little look at Southwark Park and all that's here, including things like the cafe we're going to see in a second and some of the locals feeding the birds. So just like many of the parks in London, if you do come here and you get a little bit cold or it gets a little bit rainy, there's always somewhere to shelter. And the instance of Southwark Park, there's a lovely little cafe right behind me with an information centre, and you can see behind me there lots of people sheltering from the inclement weather, having a nice warming coffee or a cup of tea, or maybe even a cheeky beer or wine later in the day. So Southwark Park then. Why not Bermondsey Park, I hear you cry, as we're looking at Bermondsey today. Well, in reality Southwark Park is actually in Rotherhithe. Like I said, that's the eastern border of Bermondsey, but I thought it's a nice place to start. The park itself was actually founded in 1869, so it's pretty damn old. And like most parks in London, it's more than just a green space. London's quite a built-up city, Bermondsey's quite a central area, and many people here really don't have any green space or outside space or social space to meet in, other than perhaps pubs and restaurants. So parks like this, they perform multiple functions, and that means you can actually find loads to do here. So yes, there's green spaces covering a whopping 63 acres for a central city park. But there's also things like the bowling green, a boating lake and duck pond, football pitches, an outdoor gym, tennis courts, table tennis courts, a nice little cafe, and even an art gallery. And Bermondsey is a very, very arty kind of place. But really, the central feature of Southwark Park, if you like, is in reality probably the bandstand. And the bandstand was initially actually built in a park in South Kensington, back in the kind of mid-late 19th century, before being moved here. And today that bandstand, particularly in the summer, does form the heart of the park. And it's where you'll find things like music festivals, food festivals, where people meet, sit around, hang out, when you do get that good weather, when the sun finally turns up here in London. Maybe it won't this year, who knows. So it's very much kind of, like I said, the centre of activity here. And also on a Saturday, the meeting place for the Southwark Park Park Run. Here in Bermondsey, just like in many areas in London, some of the most impressive buildings are actually churches. And in Bermondsey, we have St James's Church. It was built and consecrated in 1829 as a result of the Church Building Acts, architected by a guy called James Savage. And St James's Church here in Bermondsey actually lends its name to lots of things in the local area, such as St James's Road, and probably my favourite, the St James's Public House, where you can get beer here. Anyway, let's have a look at this beautiful Grade 2 listed building. Thank you so much, MegaTrip watcher. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. But please, if you haven't already, do like and subscribe. You can find the thumbs up logo and the little bell just at the bottom of the video here. It really does make so much difference to help me grow the channel. So like I said, take a minute, like, subscribe, and enjoy the rest of this video here on MegaTrip, this mini trip in Bermondsey. Time for a little MegaTrip top tip. If you do come here to Bermondsey and visit St James's Church, this beautiful Grade 2 listed building, and you get a little bit thirsty or a little bit hungry, right next door to it is one of the best pubs in the area, one of my favourites, that's well worth a visit. So if you're here and you fancy a little refreshment, why not check out the beautiful Gorian pub. Today I'm going to be walking around Bermondsey. I think I said at the start of this video that London is based of lots of towns and villages that merged and became the one big city of London. But don't underestimate the size of London, and therefore the size of the kind of constituent parts just like Bermondsey. I'm going to be walking around. Another really good way to get around if walking isn't your thing is by using Lime bikes or e-scooters. You can find them all over the streets of Bermondsey, and perhaps more importantly, you can easily rent them through an app you may already have on your phone, such as Uber, but there's also Free Now and Bolt, ubiquitous here in London. So if you don't have those apps, I suggest you download them before you come, and you can grab a little e-bike to give you some pedal assist, or even an electric scooter to help get you around the area of Bermondsey, or actually London as a whole, particularly down here on the south bank of the River Thames. There's loads of interesting road signs here in Bermondsey which really speak to the history, things like Rope Walk, Mill Street, Tanner Street, St James's Road. But this one is probably my favourite, mainly due to its positioning, I'm guessing, to stop the graffiti. Good old Dockhead. Bermondsey has historically been an area of trade, reliant on things like the naval industry, rope making, tanning, sugar, other such import and export related businesses over the years. One of the best things to do when you come to Bermondsey, as I said, it's bordered on the north by the beautiful River Thames that you can see behind me, leading down to Canary Wharf and the East Docklands. But one of the best things to do is come down and have yourself something to eat and drink on Butler's Wharf. There's a set of beautiful restaurants and bars overlooking the River Thames. The reason to do that though isn't just the river, it isn't just the food and the drink, it's also the view of the famous Tower Bridge, standing prominent with the City of London right behind it. Maybe we'll do a mini trip to the City of London one day. But anyway, let's go have a little look at Tower Bridge, which I think we're lucky today is just opening to let a boat through. Tower Bridge that you can see right here, opening to let a boat through, was built between 1886 and 1894. It was designed by Horace Jones and engineered by John Wolfe Barry, with help from Henry Mark Brunel. The bridge was really constructed to give better access to the east of London, to the Docklands, which really expanded its commercial potential in the 19th century. And if you think of London, you probably think of Tower Bridge right here at the beautiful north edge of Bermondsey. How lucky we are today to see the bridge open. We couldn't come to Bermondsey, or to this bit of Bermondsey, without checking out one of my favourite streets in London, Shad Thames, right next to the historic London Bridge. Right next to Tower Bridge is the historic Shad Thames, which in the 19th century was the biggest warehouse complex here in London. And you can see that in the architecture and the structures and the buildings all around this bit of southeast London. The first record of the name of Shad Thames was in John Rock's 1747 map of London. The name itself is thought to be a corruption of St John at Thames, a reference to St John's Church, which once stood southwest of the street. But enough warehouses. Let's go check out the other side of Bermondsey, the eating, the drinking, the art and the culture. Let's go have a little bit of a look at that side of historic Bermondsey here in London. Another Dom MegaTrip recommendation: if you're down in the Shad Thames area, particularly on a Sunday, if you're a bit hungry, a great place for one of the best Sunday roasts in London is the Dean Swift, just off Shad Thames. If you mention Bermondsey to a Londoner, they probably don't think of things like the docks, the churches, Tower Bridge, the history, the parks. That's not what normally springs to mind. It'll either be the football club, Millwall, that we mentioned earlier, or, much more likely, they'll think of Bermondsey Street. Now, Bermondsey Street really has revolutionised Bermondsey as a place to go. This area was historically, like I said, Docklands. It was very working class, definitely perceived as kind of down at heel, if you like. And probably about 20 years ago, Bermondsey Street started to emerge as a centre for culture, particularly food and drink. And it has some of the best restaurants, bars and eateries in all of London. And we can have a look at that now. It also, more and more, is becoming part of a cultural centre here in southeast London. So let's go and check out the famous Bermondsey Street. All right, Mega Trippers. Well, that's actually it for this first instalment of this special Bermondsey mini trip on MegaTrip. Join me in the next chapter of this particular adventure as we dive into the culinary side of what Bermondsey has to offer. The food and the drink, from the high end to the local markets, on MegaTrip, on this special mini trip. And of course, if you like what you've seen and you don't want to miss that, make sure you subscribe, ring that little bell down in the corner there. Please do leave a comment if there's other stuff that you want to see here on MegaTrip. Catch you next time.